sometimes we just need a soft place to fall. Today we're going to be looking at the lessons learned from grief. Hi there, my name is Natalie Wood and I'm your clinical supervisor and family counsellor. If you haven't met me, I own and operate Cogni Academy Supervision and Counselling, and I invite you now to watch this little video of the lessons learned from grief. So whether it's the death of a loved one, divorce, or the loss of a job, we all have to deal with grief at some point, and grief is a normal healing process. After all, your life has been permanently changed when you suffer a great loss, and it requires healing to get past the event and move on. When grief is painful, there are many things to learn from grief. Challenging times provide the possibility of growth. So let's learn from our grief. And here are the ways that I like to learn. Number 1, grief creates gratitude. You might not think you have anything to be grateful for, but grief happens when things are taken away from us. So grief can help you to appreciate what you had as well as what you still have. It's easy to take things for granted. Grief is a tough way to learn to be more grateful, but the opportunity is there. Number 2, grief can help you engage with your life. It's very easy to float away without really committing to anything. Tragedy can be a wake-up call and remind you that your time is limited. There are only so many days left. Ensure that you're making the most of each day. Number 3, grief can't be solved by avoiding it. You might try to avoid your grief by staying busy, but you can't stuff your grief into an overhead compartment without something falling on your head sooner or later. You'll find that your grief will be waiting for you and your sadness will get your full attention eventually. Number 4, grief can help you to refocus. Perhaps you spend too much time focused on work at the expense of your family life. Use grief as a time of reflection. Are you spending your time in the best manner for you? Have you ever thought about it? Number 5, life does not stop. After a tragedy, life continues, and 99.999% of the people on the planet are unaffected. Everything keeps moving forward. Your life must continue too. It doesn't seem fair that the world doesn't take a time out for your grief, but there's always someone grieving somewhere. Nothing would ever get accomplished if the world stopped operating. And number 6, you can move forward on knowing that things can't get worse. You may have had the worst experience you'll ever have, and I'm sorry for that, and there's a certain relief in that knowledge. Everything can seem easy by comparison after you've successfully dealt with grief. And number 7, bitterness only creates more pain. Some of us tend to be bitter regardless of the occasion. Grief highlights the fact that bitterness isn't a viable strategy for dealing with life. So the Holocaust survivors with the happiest lives were those able to avoid bitterness. Grief can facilitate a less bitter view of life. Number 8, you'll find out who your friends really are. It's uncomfortable to be around others in pain, but your true friends will still be there for you. The others will find an excuse to probably stay away. Number 9, you can overcome anything. Your life will eventually recover from your loss, and it's surprising how good things can be after enough time has passed. Time is a great healer. You can then approach the future with the knowledge that you can handle anything life has in store for you, and you'll be stronger than you've ever been. Number 10, you become less small-minded. After dealing with a great heartache, it's not easy to be petty. the small things become even smaller and the important things become even important. Grief can be a blessing in this regard, and your life has the potential to become richer in the future. So let's wrap this up. Grief gives you an opportunity to reevaluate, and it's something your life can be refocused on. Turn to your friends and family during these difficult times, and soon you'll be able to move forward stronger and better than ever. One more thing before you go. There is a Grief Recovery Roadblocks Worksheet that I've created especially for you as part of this video and as part of our learning from grief. So if you'd like to pause the video and go grab that now, beneath this video is the downloadable PDF. I invite you to go and do that now. Sometimes things were left unsaid or issues were not resolved before the loss of your loved one. These things can make it pretty difficult to move on, and that's why the recovery process really involves responding to these 4 things. And this is why I've created this worksheet, because this is what I would be doing as an exercise with a one-to-one client within the counselling setting. So just a quick invitation. If you would prefer to do this within a session with me, I invite you to go and make a time with me. There is a booking button as well beneath this video if you'd prefer to do this in a session with me, either online or face-to-face if you are a resident of the Gold Coast. So let's move on though, and I'll take you through the process. So if you could speak with your loved one again, what would you like to say to them? What I like to suggest for my clients in this context is to perhaps grab your journal, and if you're someone who writes, writing this down. If not, there's another thing I like to do, and because I'm a verbal processor and a communicator, I like to grab my phone, and it has a voice memo app, and it's a free one. I think Androids have a similar one. Just go jump in there and you record away you talking to yourself about what you'd like to say to your loved one, if you had the opportunity to do that again. So pause the video again. I invite you to go do that and come back to me here. The second thing is, what are the unresolved issues that you may have that you don't feel have been addressed, and you might just not have that sense of peace. So what I want you to do is dig deep, have some time to just reflect on where your sense of peace is right now in regards to the person that you may have unresolved issues with. So let's just pause the video again here and go ahead and take some time to do that. Okay, the third thing I've got on the worksheet is, what can you do to address any unresolved issues? For example, you may need to go and express some gratitude to a family member. It might be a sibling, it might be a surviving husband or wife or partner. It might be someone not related and it's a friend, it's a significant person in your life. So yeah, I just want you to now take some time to reflect on those unresolved issues and some actions that might be able to back up where you're at right now. And finally, if it would be helpful, write a letter expressing your feelings and thoughts. And then the second part of this is reading it aloud to yourself or another person, like a proxy person or an empty chair. So in the context of the counselling space, I would be asking clients to probably address myself. I would sit in that space, or it would be an empty chair. If you're not confident and not willing to do that, that's okay. There's no pressure. but this is just part of the process, so it gives you a bit of a taste of what it might look like to have counselling one-to-one. And if you're keen to get that kind of support from me, I invite you, there's a button below as well for you to click on so that you could book in with me online. And that would be really helpful to you at probably this point in your journey of grief and loss. And so I invite you to just take some time to do that as well. But for now, to your empowered potential, and I'll see you next video.